west and south.
Cloudy in the west.
And in the headlines, the NZBC News.
Good evening, citizens.
Can you give it a tweak?
Coming up on tonight's broadcast, it's a dire warning that we can't ignore. Experts say it may already be too late to save the Haka. And meet the sickest clown of all time as we relive the magic of box dog.
Crispy can see us, you know, through the TV.
It started life as the story of a bloody massacre, forged in the heat of battle by brave warriors. Now it's something pissed backpackers do to impress foreigners. Whether we like it or not, the haka has become an emblem of New Zealand. But are we now overdoing it? And is this precious national ritual turning from a noble statement of identity into the pantomime horse of New Zealand culture? Te Raupraha's Haka. It's a time-honoured war dance about death and honour. Or at least, it was. For a war dance, the Haka has become remarkably ubiquitous. This Chinese Haka, or Chaka, shows just how far we've come.
Learning dancing is the Maori language.
The unveiling of a multilingual traffic sign was cause enough for the traffic cops to haka, back when you needed a cause. Time was, only Maori and the All Blacks did the haka. These days, any yokel chimp with a skinful seems prepared to squat, slap and shout like a gibbering idiot.
Police stood their ground in Castle Street as students advanced in a massed haka.
But how did it come to this? Things really began to go Coomera-shaped back in the 90s, when a bunch of pissed tourists from Christchurch tried to teach the Spice Girls to haka in Bali. Maori were justifiably disgusted, but not as much as Posh Spice. We've seen plenty of victory hakas over the years, but by the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, New Zealanders were performing the haka even when we lost.
Last night's haka for silver medalist Dean Kent overshadowed and delayed Scottish celebrations for their gold medalist.
We're showing an arrogance towards other nations that we haven't shown before.
It was starting to look like organised, orgiastic onanism. We did it for Diana. We did it for Dean. We even did it for disaster.
One of my lasting memories of the Boxing Day tsunami was the sight of a lone New Zealand backpacker performing a haka in the face of the wave. It was really very stupid.
We don't like to admit it, but some of the best hakas are now performed by foreigners. Even Old English bowlers can now be found chanting, "It was death, it was death." As if they hadn't hakaed themselves senseless already, the All Blacks tried to reclaim the haka by inventing their own. It might have been haka-tastic, but kapa o pango caused kapa o pangs of resentment in our opponents, with its cutthroat carry-on. Tana's response had more spin on it than a Byron Kelleher pass.
For us, it means it's the borderline of I think, of the game that we play and the industry that we're in, because it's quite cutthroat.
Yeah, this Haka nonsense, deeply embarrassing.
Why are you embarrassed of the Haka?
Oh, it's childish, absolutely childish. I just wish somebody who would otherwise be seen as essential, like Daniel Carter, would have the guts to say, I'm not going to stand there and prance around, poke my tongue out, and all this sort of thing. It's childish. It's embarrassing.
Childish or not, the Haka was becoming a bad joke, and quite a good one at that.
The fearsome All Blacks.
Not that Wayne was laughing.
It's pretty disrespectful, isn't it? I mean, I know it's a bit of a piss take, but it's insensitive.
As of May 2007 is now officially the most Haka year since records began. And by the time the All Golds arrived in the UK last month, even the Monarch had lost all interest.
Nice to see you, old. Bye.
Some say the quad pounding's getting out of hand. In June, a Bay of Plenty woman claimed she'd taught her unborn baby to do the Haka. And in August, serious questions were asked after ASB Bank currency traders performed a smart casual Haka when the Kiwi dollar broke the US 80 cents barrier. Thanks to the World Cup, the number of Hakas performed publicly is now at an all-time high, leading many cultural commentators to conclude that New Zealand has reached peak Haka.
Peak Haka is the point at which our consumption of the Haka reaches a tipping point. Basically, there are so many Hakas being performed that the mana of the Haka actually begins to decline. And the overall quality of the Hakas begins to spiral downwards. Once we reach peak Haka, it's very hard to reverse.
Last week, the Ministry of Maori Affairs announced it was considering Haka-less days from 2009. It's hoped national rationing will help save the iconic challenge from becoming a meaningless cliche. But is it all too late? Still to come.
Crispy can see us, you know, through the TV.
The most shocking clown in the history of television.
Jeez.
As we relive the madness of Box Dog.